Minister Roosevelt Skerrit re-elected for an unprecedented fourth term in office.
Multi-million-dollar facility launched to reduce the region's vulnerability to disasters.
And the Bahamas plans pledging conference to support recovery efforts. These and other stories are in the CARICOM NewsTime for the week ending Friday, the 6th of December. I am Tusankin English Francis.
And I am Michelle Nurse. Thanks for joining us. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit was sworn into office for a fourth consecutive term on Saturday, the 7th of December, after leading the ruling Dominica Labour Party, the DLP, to victory at general elections on the 6th of December. The DLP was returned to power with a greater majority, winning 18 of the 21 seats in Dominica's National Assembly.
I, Roosevelt Skerrit, do swear.
I, Roosevelt Skerrit, do swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
I will faithfully execute.
The office of Prime Minister.
The office of Prime Minister.
Without fear or favor.
Without fear or favor.
Affection or ill will.
Affection or ill will.
The CARICOM, Commonwealth and OAS teams, which observed the elections, said that the results reflected the will of the voters who cast ballots in the polls. In separate news conferences on Saturday, the 7th of December, the election observation missions noted that while there had been concerns about pre-elections violence, that did not prevent people from peacefully casting their ballots in support of either the DLP or the main opposition United Workers' Party, the UWP.
The initial assessment of the election day activities by the mission is that voters were able to cast their ballots without intimidation or fear, and that the results of the 6th December 2019 general elections reflect the will of the people of the Commonwealth of Dominica. The mission extends its appreciation to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the assistance and congratulates the staff of the Electoral Commission, poll workers, the political parties and their candidates, the security forces, and the people of the Commonwealth of Dominica on the level of maturity displayed in the peaceful execution of the election day activities. A full independent report will be prepared by the Chief of Mission for submission to the Secretary General of CARICOM, His Excellency Arley Gill.
In his first address following the results, Prime Minister Skerrit extended a hand to opposition leader Mr. Lennox Linton to work together for the benefit of the country.
At the start of this campaign, and in my letter to the people of Dominica, contained in the Labour Party's manifesto, I indicated that the Labour Party was seeking re-election on 3 grounds: our performance as a government, the strength of our new team, and our vision for the future. Let us concede that we have a great deal of hard work ahead of us. There is no doubt that there are now social rifts, economic damage, and reputational concerns which have to be addressed as a matter of urgency. This will be the first order of business of the new Labour Party government. In that regard, I will shortly be naming my cabinet so that we can immediately set out rebuilding from the reputational damage and repairing the hurts of the last few weeks. I also look forward to inviting Mr. Linton to early discussions as we all seek to unite the nation.
The UWP's parliamentary representation was reduced from 6 to 3. Mr. Linton said that the UWP would not recognize the results of the polls and called for fresh elections in Dominica. Prime Minister Skerrit maintained that Dominica has always had free and fair elections, and within the first 100 days of his new government, he would embark on the process of electoral reform.
Having reflected on this issue, it is my intention to invite a renowned Caribbean jurist to lead a national commission on electoral reform. The work of that commission, added to all the previous consultancy and election reports from various international organizations, together with the decision of the courts, will inform the shape of Dominica's electoral reform. Public hearings will be held throughout the country, and all Dominicans will be able to appear before the Commission and give their views. Provision will be made for anonymous submissions, as well as for an open discussion forum on social media sites. These, my dear friends, constitute the priority agenda of the first 100 days of the new administration of the Dominica Labour Party.
The Prime Minister said that his new cabinet would be sworn in on December 17th. The Alliance of Small Island States, AOSIS, says the two-week UN Climate Change Conference, COP25, in Spain, provides a last opportunity to act decisively on the commitments made under the Paris Agreement. Addressing the conference, AOSIS Chair Ambassador Lois Young said the current trend of national commitments puts the world on course for a climate that is warmer than the 1.5 degrees recommended limit to adaptation. In a strongly worded statement on behalf of AOSIS, whose membership includes CARICOM member states, she said we are at or near limits. She added that urgent and large-scale action for mitigation is required to secure the future of humanity as we know it. Ambassador Young said that despite 30 years of consistent advocacy, tireless engagement and action within our means, global inaction and inadequate commitments continue to signal a willingness to sacrifice the very existence of small island developing states. Do we really want to be remembered as the generation that buried its head in the sand, that fiddled while the planet burned? This is the question UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres asked global stakeholders in his address to the opening of COP25 on the 2nd of December. He said the other option is the path of hope, a path of resolve, of sustainable solutions, a path where more fossil fuels remain where they should be, in the ground, and where we are on the way to carbon neutrality by 2050. Chair of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Ho Sung Lee, said the 3 special reports on warming of 1.5 degrees reconfirmed the urgent need for immediate reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. Such immediate reductions, he said, would provide the world with more space for cost-effective and sustainable mitigation and adaptation options.
The Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CDEMA, and the European Union have launched a Euro 14 million facility intended to reduce the region's vulnerability to disaster risks. The 11th EDF Natural Disaster Facility in CARICOM program was launched on the 3rd of December at the 11th Caribbean Conference on Comprehensive Disaster Management in St. Martin. Decision makers and disaster management professionals gathered to have discussions on improving capacities and building partnerships in the fight against climate change and to strengthen disaster management strategies. The Natural Disaster Facility will be implemented by CDEMA and the Dominican Republic. The EU's ambassador to Guyana, His Excellency Fernando Ponce Cantu, says the EU remains committed to reducing the region's vulnerability to climate variability and change. He noted the importance of the Dominican Republic's participation for increased cooperation and sharing lessons.
CARICOM Secretary General Ambassador Erwin LaRocque is rallying the community, particularly men and boys, to take a strong stand against all forms of gender-based violence. In a message to mark 16 Days of Activism, he said women and girls must enjoy the full complement of their human rights. The Women's Global Leadership Institute launched 16 Days of Activism in 1991. The period highlights 4 important observances: the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls on the 25th of November, Women's Human Rights Defenders Day on the 29th of November, and World AIDS Day on the 1st of December. The campaign ended on Human Rights Day on the 10th of December.
The Bahamas will be hosting a pledging conference early next year to mobilize financial and technical support for recovery efforts following the passage of Hurricane Dorian in September. The January 13th conference is being held with the support from the United States and the United Kingdom governments. Dorian, a Category 5 hurricane, was particularly severe on the islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama, causing damage estimated at US $3.4 billion, according to assessments by the IDB and UN ECLAC. The pledging conference will be held on New Providence. The Bahamas' Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis says the official death count stands at 70, with more missing. He says the government of the Bahamas welcomes all initiatives that will help to move the country along a path of recovery.
In the wake of a spate of accidents that have resulted in multiple fatalities, President of Guyana, His Excellency David Granger, recently issued a call for care on the roadways. President Granger said the deaths, disabilities and injuries and damage to property caused by accidents on Guyana's roads are deeply distressing. 114 persons, 9 of whom were children, were killed in 97 road accidents so far for this year. The President said this insane increase in road fatalities has been caused mainly by persons driving at excessive speeds, driving under the influence of alcohol, and driving without due care. Every death is too great a loss that Guyana cannot afford, he stated.
CARICOM Special Rapporteur on Disability, Senator Dr. Floyd Morris, has stressed the need for persons with disabilities to have greater access to all aspects of Caribbean life. In his message to mark the recent international observances for persons with disabilities, Dr. Morris said facilities such as public transportation, educational institutions, health care and community centers, sidewalks, theaters, sports complexes and workplaces must be made accessible to persons with disabilities. He called on countries to move with urgency to fulfill their obligations on the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities that has made access a right for persons of these categories.
Barbados celebrated its 53rd independence anniversary on the 30th of November. The celebration was held under the theme, One Nation, One Love, One Light. During this most celebratory of occasions for your country, it would be remiss of me to not express the community's appreciation for the continued support of Barbados in relation to the regional integration process, Ambassador Rock said in a message to Prime Minister Mia Mottley. He added that as lead head of government in the CARICOM Quasi-Cabinet, for matters related to the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, the CSME, Prime Minister Mottley brought energy and ideas to advance this issue, which is intrinsically linked to the region's success in enhancing the welfare of its people. The various efforts undertaken recently in this regard are a testament to your commitment and the priority you give to the CSME in particular and the integration process as a whole, he said. Prime Minister Mottley assumes chairmanship of CARICOM in January. Here are some scenes from the anniversary celebrations. You've noticed we've been featuring CARICOM ambassadors in the I Am CARICOM campaign. This week, we hear from another ambassador expressing what CARICOM means to him.
CARICOM is the natural progression of all Caribbean people. It is us. It is who we are as a people, divided by the oceans, divided by the seas, but yet for we identify with same culture. We as a people, the way we speak, the way we live, our diet, our morals, our values, our folkways, our mores, is about us in a small space, coming together and facing the world. It is us in a small space surviving, as David Rudder put it, in a world that don't need islands anymore. CARICOM means so much to us. CARICOM is the essence of our very survival as persons who were taken from our places of origin, from Africa, from India, persons who first inhabited our shores, the Amerindians, who have suffered and who have gone through so much. CARICOM represents us as a people, defining who we are and ensuring that our future generations have a better life.
For these and other stories, you can visit the CARICOM website at caricom.org or our news site at today.caricom.org.
Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.